Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome to day 2. And today we'll be talking about a lot of things, but just before that, when we started working with Nuqat's team on the timeline and the structure of our talks, it made sense for me to speak on day 2. And little did I know that today, on the 22nd of November, I will be very fortunate and extremely honored to be speaking on Lebanon's Independence Day. We're going to start this talk the other way around, and I'm going to start with asking you questions. So I want you all to grab your phones, go to the code on menti.com that will appear on the screen behind me. And please answer these. There are only 3 questions, yes or no questions, so that it's going to be fast. My first question is, do you feel nostalgic about the past? And go to the code 671024. So, do you feel nostalgic about the past? This could be your own personal past, but also the city, your city's past, your country's past, and whether you feel nostalgic about it or not. We only have 3 users till now. حط الكود 671024 menti.com. All right, we're going to switch to the second question. Now that the majority of you has said yes, we feel nostalgic about our past, we're going to move to question number 2. And I'm going to ask you if you think that we ruin the essence of our memories and ambitions. Do you think that our memories, what we do today, is actually ruining our memories, our stories of the past, and what we remember of it? So also it's a yes or no question, with more no answers this time. Equal? Fighting? Awesome. Now that we have more users, we're going to move with a majority of a no. We're going to move to the third and last question. And I'm going to ask you, every single one of you, are you guys satisfied with the reality you are leaving for the next generation? Are you happy with what you're going to give, what you're going to inherit as a planet, as cities, as roads, everything? Thank you guys so much. With a vast majority of a no, we are not satisfied with what we're leaving. Allow me to take you into a presentation showing what I did over the last year. And let me take you through a story that both you and I have written, both you and I have impacted. This is a story of humanity, right? Human beings have moved into 3 different eras, 3 different speeds. The first being the animal speed. We hunted, we climbed, we built our own tools, we fought, we ran. The second, with the implementation and introduction of mechanisms and engines, we started producing fast. We started polluting our environment. We started making transportation much more interesting and much more fast, right? And finally, we entered our current era, which is the technological speed. And just with a single click, we are connected to all this world behind you. Let me take you through the story just to tell you how much we made a difference between reality and ruin. These are 2 definitions of realities and ruin. And I'm going to tell you that today we have lost our realities and we are currently living our ruins. Why is that? Let's look at it. This is a picture of a map during Hiroshima, after Hiroshima's nuclear bomb explosion. What you see, the fire area is the extent of fire, the red area. And the circles are the areas of destruction that the city witnessed. This is also a simulation of the nuclear bomb explosion in Hiroshima. And this is the reality that we live in today. This is Chernobyl's nuclear explosion that happened earlier, and we all know about what happened in Chernobyl, and some of us still live it till today. This explosion made this city completely abandoned. People left everything behind them and just ran away, running away from cancer, running away from diseases, just getting away, leaving everything behind. And this is how the city looks like today. And this is the reality that we have created. Just a few months back, Lebanon witnessed fires all over the country, making it lose 3 million trees. And I'm going to share with you this video, and this is the reality we have today.
العالم عم بتصرخ ببيوتها، العالم عم بتصرخ، العالم علقانة والنار فاتت على البيوت وحاصرت الناس وصريخ الناس عم نسمع وما في حدا يسمع.
3 million trees in 24 hours. Can you imagine this? We couldn't even plant that much trees in 24 hours. Melting glaciers are happening all around the globe. Melting glaciers are an extreme consequence of climate change, and climate change is real. And this is the reality that we have today. I mean, just last week, Venice flood, right? 1 meter of sea level. 1 meter is more than half of a human being. Those melting glaciers are not only jeopardizing cities and sea levels, but also natural habitat. Look at this polar bear and look at its environment and how much we have changed it. This is the reality that we have created. This is the polar bear sinking in his own natural habitat. Water pollution, this is a picture of direct waste deposit in our oceans. And this is what's happening currently every second in all of our oceans. Water pollution has never reached the levels that we have today. And this is the reality that we are currently living in. Of course, marrying to direct waste deposit, we have plastic pollution that is happening. And if we combine all the plastic that is in the ocean, it's larger than New York City. This is the reality of the plastic pollution of today's oceans. And here I allowed myself to play just with a pattern, and I want you to go with me through that pattern of reality and ruin. This is the reality of a rhino chopped off. His horn is chopped off to be sold in the market, of course, to make money out of it. And this is the reality that we have concerning wildlife abuse. And just using small Photoshop, this is the ruin of the past that happened before. I'm going to show it to you again. This is a dead rhino with a horn chopped off as well, laying on the ground. And this is the reality, and that is the ruin that existed before. These are the Amazon fires a few months back, with a cow laying on the ground because we did not only destroy its natural habitat, its environment, but we also killed animals during those fires. And I allowed myself also with the technique of Photoshop to give its soul back and make it stand up back up. Just to look at the pattern between reality and ruin. Finally, this is the Amazon fires again, and this is the tree that used to exist there as a ruin today. I'm going to say wars everywhere in the world has been extremely aggressive, right? We've built cities and demolished them. We've built civilizations and wiped them. We made destruction happening everywhere in the cities. This is Beirut during the Civil War, and what you see here is a stadium completely demolished with surrounding buildings completely abandoned. This is how Beirut's buildings looked like, filled with bullets, abandoned and destroyed. This is the Holiday Inn. This is a hotel that opened only for 1 month in 1974. 1 month it had proper residents, proper people using it as a hotel, after being used by, the Civil War started, and being used by snipers as a base. And today it's completely closed. So Ruin to Reality is an application aiming at reconnecting people with their cultural heritage. Ruin to Reality will offer you the experience of the past using the VR technology so that you can connect back to your past, rebuild on lost and forgotten memories. We're going to take here, it's been a year that I've been working on Martyrs Square, and I want you to look at Martyrs Square in Beirut and see how it evolved. So this is Martyrs Square in Beirut today. You see that to your left-hand side, you have ruined and abandoned buildings, you have new constructions, but mainly it's giant parking plots that are completely left out and unused. And this is the result of this civil war, that where you see the green arrow is actually where the statue stands, and this is how it looked right after the civil war. And this is the reality that we, as humans, have created. The application will take you back to Martyrs Square in 1960s. You will get to experience this vibe, this city, back in the 1960s. And for those who don't know Beirut, the 60s were the golden age of Beirut. You had a tramway connecting you to all the areas of the city. You had buses everywhere. This was filled with merchants, with a lot of people. Residents were actually staying there, walking, dancing. And I'm going to take you through a quick virtual reality tour of what the application will offer. Everything you see is completely demolished. Everything you see does not exist anymore.
Hello, human. Let me take you through a story that you have written. A story that you have impacted. What you see is the result of endless working hours. A combination of social
This is the tramway that used to connect you to everyone else. This is the Rivoli Cinema, one of the most famous cinemas in the city of Beirut back then. I invite you all to experience this, of course, furthermore in the exhibition side, from that side. I exhibited this during Dubai Design Week just last week, and I was amazed, and I started filming people's reactions after every time they wore the VR glasses. And I want to share with you what this guy did.
أنا ترامب بتذكر والساحة بتذكرها يعني رجعتني سنة 75. My God. Exactly بتذكرها.
And this is his reaction right after removing his goggles.
Wow. Impressive. Impressive
What you
revolution.
see is the home of thousands of people, their identity.
40 years
What you see is the result of cultural
45
layering,
years لورا.
resulting in a
رجعتني
masterpiece we call
45 50.
a city. Everything you
Wow.
My friends, this is what you get. This is what the aim of this application. It's to take you and connect you back to your individual memories. What everything you will see in the application has been collected through endless research of more than 850 pictures of Martyrs Square in the 1960s. I sat down and when I finished remodeling the whole area, I sat down, and this is the interesting part, I sat down with people who actually lived at that period of time, and they started adding their own social layer to what they're looking at. They started adding the little garbage, the detail of the sidewalk, the detail of the handrail, the story behind a banner, the story behind a club, etc., etc. So they started adding this. And if we all together combine our individual memories, this is how we have a chance at recreating a collective memory that would give identity to our cities. A natural timeline would look like this. We have the past, the present, and the future. This is what we have been taught, right? If we marry this to my words, the ruin should be in the past, the reality should be in the present, and our vision should be in the future. But we, as humans, seem to have made a mistake somewhere, and we switched these two. We are now living our ruins, and our realities we are very nostalgic, and we are not even proud that what we're leaving to the generations to come. The future, my friends, is not a linear path, but rather circular. And if you really want to make something happen, you need to start right now. So we're here to say all together, no more ruins.
شكرا كثير الياس. يلي الياس عمل اليوم وفكرة انه هو اول توك لنهارنا بيربط يلي عملناه امبارح نحن كنا عم نحكي كيف ليش نحن بنعيش بالطريقة اللي بنعيشها والافكار يلي بلورت طريقة عيشتنا، واليوم نحن عم نحكي على كيف بتقدر مخيلتنا تاخذنا على مستقبل او حاضر عبالنا نحن نعيش فيه in a way. بفتح هلا السيشن for Q&A مع الياس. Questions over there.
مرحبا.
Hi.
مع انه it was really interesting, very nice, but it is so sad to see what we've reached. It's really sad. It really made me sad. I was wondering, the work you've done only on Lebanon, you didn't go to other cities and other countries in the Arab world, because we have so many of the ruins. You can see Syria, Iraq, Yemen, for example. We have so much of those, so you can do the same thing on them?
Of course. Briefly answered, not yet. But Ruin to Reality is not only about Beirut, it's not only about Lebanon, and it's not only about cities even. I can imagine mountains that became quarries, and we could visualize them how they used to be before. So Ruin to Reality really is an awareness tool so that people connect with past events and past elements, so that we rebuild all together everywhere in the world and in any city, of course in the Arab world, but also everywhere else. And right now, this is the work of 7 months almost, and the application is now on the App Store. But hopefully next year we're going to start working on. We have 3 different locations that I'll be working on.
Questions over there.
Thank you. Great presentation. But so it's only on the App Store, not on.
Yeah. You could go on the website and you have an Android icon and it connects you directly to the link of the VR, but you don't have all the app. But we have already a template and it's ongoing. So soon, hopefully, it will be on Android.
My question for Beirut, you get back to 1975, yani just pre-war, or for the past, where do you go? Yani Beirut, you know, the Martyrs Square, you can go back to the beginning of the 20th century. So how do you choose and where and why?
So far we have one period of time, which is 1960, 1965, that period of time, and we don't have what is older. But also it is a project to work on a timeline. So every geographical location, you could go back on a timeline and start experiencing it as it evolves.
Thank you.
Yes.
Question.
Yes. Here. Yes, hi Elias, thank you very much for such noble efforts. Myself, I'm currently reconstructing old Kuwait City in 1951, and I know the challenge that you go through. My question, who sponsor you? Who is working with you?
ما في agenda.
No, I mean, financially, how do you sustain yourself?
Winning the ARI Innovation Award last year in Dubai Design Week. So this is a competition that they launch every year, and it's an award with a grant, right? So when I won the award, this allowed me to go on for a year, since November last year and until today, and to exhibit the application again. So everything you see has been sponsored by Audi from last year till today. And I've been working alone, managing the project and doing the renderings, the modeling and the construction, but working, of course, with an app developer to make the app.
Question up here.
Hey.
Hi. I was wondering if your aim is to just affect individuals or also policymakers to try to conserve the ruins that or I would say historical places that do exist now, and not sort of ruin them in the future for other sort of more modern projects.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What is the difference between a policymaker and an individual?
Okay, maybe I'm a bit biased because I used to be one. But I would say that policymakers don't, especially in the Arab world, I would say, perhaps in our formation of government, you don't have as much of a say of perhaps how things do progress in our countries, whereas a policymaker perhaps has more power over these things. So unfortunately, in some countries you could perhaps affect a policymaker's decisions, but I was just wondering if you work with specific or you're planning to work with governments in the region, try to reach them, show them what you're working on, because I think it's really admirable. So.
Thank you so much for your compliment. I'm gonna tackle two notions. The first notion is the notion of the leader, right? And how we look at a leader. A leader should be a parent. So he should be, our mothers are all leaders, our parents are leaders, our fathers are leaders. So we should look at policymakers as leaders and as leaders who take care of their subordinates. That's one. Second, my next step, hopefully this year, is to start contacting, and this can go in different directions, but governmental institutions, so that they start offering this to people in their own areas. Also museums and cultural institutions, so that this can become more cultural and becomes like entering exhibitions, and just like today. And yeah, so that's it, mainly tackling these two.
Thank you. One last question in the front. Mike. Thank you.
You made me relive my youth with Beirut.
Peace.
When you chose Martyrs Square, how did you decide on which landmarks, I mean, what to focus on, and how many items or what exactly to include in the virtual reality tour, and why just Martyrs Square during that era? I mean, there was more than that. I mean, why not Matalan, the Hamra area, Hamra Street, that was starting to grow, that during those golden years of Beirut, that was becoming what was known as not just the Switzerland of the Middle East, the so-called Paris of the Middle East, you know, the Champs-Élysées. Why just Martyrs Square?
Okay, I had to pick one location to start, and this location had to be one iconic, but also that shows I really built on the contrast between what's happening now and what was there before. I mean, Hamra is an amazing example, but Hamra today is still living, is still there. We still have people. It may look a little bit different, but the contrast that exists in Martyrs Square is so strong to the point that it's not, I mean, architecturally speaking, it's not even a square. A square should be defined by buildings, and today it's only defined by huge parking plots that open up to a non-ending terrain. So yeah, this is the reason behind Martyrs Square. And why 1960? Because I wanted to tackle, like, a few years from now, la samahallah, we're gonna lose the people who lived in the 1960s. So I wanted to create with the last generation that is currently living and the youngest generation. So this is why I didn't want to go into the 1800, for example, and yeah, of course it's a great history story, but I wanted to create this, like, an experience for this guy who lived it maybe when he was 12 or 13.
Well, the reason I asked was because you showed the Holiday Inn and you showed the Cité Sportive, so, you know,
yeah,
that's why I asked. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Elias.